to read Amelia Bedelia. And if you haven't checked out my other videos of Amelia Bedelia, I read the first book and a little bit of the second book. And I'm going to be reading Chapter 8 of 2-Bit Shave and Haircut. Again, you should go back if you haven't read this book with me and go back to my other videos. And we're going to get started with this one. Chapter 8, 2-Bit Shave and Haircut. The next day was Saturday, the day of the dog show. Amelia Bedelia rode her bike over to Charlie's house. She was so excited to help Charlie give Puree a bath. Charlie, said his mother, since Amelia Bedelia is here to help you, I'm going to run some errands. I'll get Puree's bath ready for you before I go. Soon Puree was standing in a deep tub full of warm water and suds. Amelia Bedelia and Charlie rolled up their sleeves and scrubbed Puree in the soapy water. Puree loved getting shampooed, and Amelia Bedelia and Charlie managed to stay pretty dry until it was time to dry Puree. Both Amelia Bedelia and Charlie could see it coming. It was like one of those weather maps on TV that show an approaching hurricane. They were in the storm's path and were going to get soaked. Sure enough, Puree let them have it. After 1 second of shaking, they were drenched. The only thing they could do was holler and shriek and dance around and laugh. A lot. Charlie, yelled Amelia Bedelia, you look like you just ran through 100 sprinklers for an hour. You look like you fell into the world's biggest swimming pool, yelled Charlie, then starting with his head and moving down to his rear end. Puree shook himself one last time, just to be sure they were totally soaked. Still laughing, Amelia Bedelia and Charlie led Puree out to the back deck. They worked in the sunshine, squirting conditioner into Puree's coat and rubbing it in there with their fingers. Let's start brushing him, said Charlie. Fun, said Amelia Bedelia. She grabbed a nearby brush with it from a dustpan. When she began to brush Puree with it, Charlie laughed. Not with that brush, he said. You'll get him dirty again. With the poop brush, use one of these special dog brushes. Amelia Bedelia loved brushing Puree. He's going to be beautiful, she said. You mean handsome, said Charlie. Once Puree's hair was tangle-free, Charlie showed Amelia Bedelia how to trim his coat with electric clippers. Charlie was trimming stray hairs from Puree's fluffy chest when disaster struck. A squirrel ran across the deck. Puree took off after him like a shot. He ran right over Charlie, who was still holding wiring clippers. Charlie hit the deck. No, Puree, he shouted. Heel! Wait, come back. If you get dirty, you'll need to take another bath. Puree was an obedient dog, and besides, the squirrel had already scrambled up to a tree. But Puree trotted back to Charlie and sat down again. That's when Amelia Bedelia noticed a long strip of fluffy white fur on the deck. Hey, Charlie, where did this come from? She asked. There was only one place it could have come from. Puree's beautiful prize-winning coat. Charlie kneeled in front of Puree. Uh-oh, he said. It looked as though a lawnmower had cut a swath through a pretty flower bed. Oh boy, said Charlie. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is not good. Not good at all. He took the fluffy patch of hair from Amelia Bedelia and tried to push it back into place. It didn't work. We need tape or something, said Amelia Bedelia. Or paste, or a glue stick. They tried everything. Nothing worked. Boy, oh boy, said Charlie. I am doomed. Puree sat patiently. Perhaps he realized that he was partly to blame. But now, as he watched a puff of fur that used to be his beautiful pom-pom blow across the deck like a tiny tumbleweed, the situation began to sink into him too. Amelia Bedelia thought that if ever an animal were going to speak, it would be now. Puree cocked his head and stared directly at him. His eyes said, "You've got to be kidding me. I trusted you to take care of me, and this happens?" Woof. Charlie started pacing back and forth across the deck, repeating, "Boy, oh boy," and tugging at his own hair. "I know," said Amelia Bedelia. "Let's look in the kitchen. There's probably something there that would work." They searched through the kitchen drawers until Amelia Bedelia found some twisty ties. She headed back to the deck to try them on Pierre, while Charlie kept looking for possible solutions. "Charlie," yelled Amelia Bedelia, "your problem's gone." "Great," Charlie called back. "Do the twisty ties work?" "I don't know," said Amelia Bedelia. "Pierre is gone, vanished." Doggone. Chapter 9. We are going to read it. I'm sorry, guys. Holly's in the background. Doggone. Chapter 9. Charlie dashed out to the deck. "Pierre, Pierre," he called. "Come here, boy. Come here, Pierre." Amelia Bedelia could hear the panic in Charlie's voice. They kept calling Pierre's name over and over until it seemed to echo through the entire neighborhood, but it was no use. Pierre had evaporated into the air. "This is all my fault," said Charlie. "Pierre probably feels stupid like I do, and he's run away." "I know," said Amelia Bedelia. "Let's make posters and hang them up in the neighborhood. That worked for a lady I know who lost her dog baby." "We don't have time," said Charlie. "This is an emergency. I am cooked. The dog show is in a couple of hours. Mom is depending on me." Amelia Bedelia watched the breeze blow another tuft of Pierre's fur across the deck. She caught it and held it to her nose. She could smell the yummy conditioner they had used. Her eyes grew large, and she said, "Charlie, I'm pretty sure you are not cooked. I've got a real idea, but I need to call someone before I tell you what it is." Charlie handed her a phone. This is what he heard Amelia Bedelia say. "Hi, Deanna. It's me, Amelia Bedelia. Hi, I'm okay. You know that bloodhound you walk? Sherlock, right? Like the detective? Can I take him for a walk today? Like right now? Perfect. Will you tell Mr. Halom I'm picking him up? Thanks. We're on our way." Amelia Bedelia grabbed Charlie's hand. "Let's go," she said. "Sherlock is on the case, and he'll help us for sure. Those are the droopiest jowls I've ever seen." And Charlie, they were headed back to the deck, and the last place they had seen Pierre. "Sherlock can find anything," said Amelia Bedelia. "We just need to give him a clue to work with." She waved a tuft of Pierre's fur under Sherlock's nose. His trail began to wag from side to side. "Faster and faster. Baroo!" bade Sherlock. He took off, dragging Amelia Bedelia and Charlie along behind him. "Baroo! Baroo!" They ran over lawns, through backyards, across a tennis court, then straight down a street lined with stores. Sherlock led them right into the nearest butcher shop. "We're wasting the time," moaned Charlie. "Sherlock doesn't know where Pierre is. He just wants lunch." Amelia Bedelia wasn't so sure. "Excuse me," she said to the butcher. "Did a huge French poodle stop by here?" The butcher laughed. "You mean the dog with the world's worst haircut?" "Wow, that's him," said Charlie. "Yeah," said the butcher. "He was here just a few minutes ago. He looked miserable." "Hey, who butchered his hair?" Amelia Bedelia and Charlie looked at each other. "Oh, anyway," said the butcher, "I felt sorry for him, so I gave him a hot dog." "That was really nice of you," said Amelia Bedelia. "Here," said the butcher, "here's a hot dog for your bloodhound." "Thank you," said Amelia Bedelia. "This can be a special treat for Sherlock when he finds Pierre." "If he finds Pierre," said Charlie. Amelia Bedelia dangled the tuft of Pierre's hair under Sherlock's nose. "More track," she said. "Baroo, baroo," bade Sherlock, and away they went. Amelia Bedelia could tell that Sherlock was hot on Pierre's tail. They bounded through backyards, over a compost heap, into a bare patch. and across the stream where Sherlock paused to sniff the bank. Amelia Bedelia looked at Charlie. "You're a total mess," she said. "So are you," said Charlie. "If we look this bad, imagine what Pierre is going to look like. Kiss the dog show goodbye." "Beirut!" bayed Sherlock at the top of his lungs. This time there was a reply. They heard a feeble wolf that sounded as though it was coming from miles away. "It's Pierre," shouted that again. Sherlock took off again and led them to a culvert, a tunnel that let the stream flow under a road. They found Pierre. He was a wet, cold, shivering, dirty, disgusting mess. Still, they both threw their arms around him. He covered their faces with kisses in return. Amelia Bedelia hugged Sherlock and gave him the hot dog treat. It disappeared into his jowls, and gulp, it was gone. And we're going to pause there because I think there's a lot more. Oh, wait, no, there's just 2 more pages. We're going to keep going. "I think he's saying thank you," said Amelia Bedelia, laughing. Amelia Bedelia and Charlie returned Sherlock to Mr. Holmes on their way back to Charlie's house. Charlie's mom drove in the driveway just as they lifted Pierre into the warm, soapy bath. When she checked it on their progress, she was surprised to find Pierre still in a tub. "My goodness," she said, "you two are going to wash him away." "I just want him to look his best," said Charlie. That wasn't really a lie, thought Amelia Bedelia, but it wasn't the whole truth either. She concluded that it was just a fib. "Well, shout if you need me," said Charlie's mom. "I'll be down in my office." While Charlie scrubbed the muck out of Pierre's coat and pulled out the burrs and briars, Amelia Bedelia called Deanna again. "This is what you said. Can your friend Eric, the dog groomer, perform a miracle?" Chapter 10, 2 for 1. And we're going to stop there. Sorry, guys. Holly is screaming. Bye! Oh, wait. We're going to be doing a Roblox channel right after this. Bye.